keep those transistors on from 6 to 8 Monday nights for Out of the Attic with your host, Nathan Randall, playing the best music from the 1930s to the 1950s.
Well, and reading a little bit about the history of Bill Haley and the Comets, you guys actually split back in 1955, too, and formed the Jody Mars, correct?
That's correct, yeah. Those are the two gentlemen that we were partners in the last 20 years. We got back together, Joe Ambrose, saxophone player, and Dick Richards, drummer, and myself. We ran the band, and we were known as the original Comets. But we three did split away from Bill Haley in the summer, September of, I believe, 1955. Rock Around the Clock was the number one song in the world, and we asked Bill and his partners for a raise. We were working at the Chicago Theater. They were making a lot of money and paying us $175 a week, and we had families to raise, and we wanted to, a little more money. We asked them for a $50 a week raise, and they refused us. So we said, well, it doesn't look like they're going to share with us the success of the financial end of it. So we decided, at a recommendation of another performer, her name was Peggy King. She was a vocalist on the old Georgie Gobel television show back in the 50s. And she said, boy, you guys are crazy. She was a singer on the Chicago Theater show with us. She said, you guys are crazy for staying with them. Hell, you're more than half of the show. And he's not sharing the money with you. Start your own band. So we thought about it. We said, heck yeah. And we put a band together and got a manager, and he signed us to Capitol Records in New York. And we had our first gig 1 week after we had given Bill a 3-week notice. During the 3 weeks, we had got our band together and had a record session. Our first job in front of an audience was at the Palace Theater down at Times Square, right in the heart of New York City. And we even had Judy Garland's dressing room. It still had her name on the door with a big star on it, because she did many, many weeks of entertainment there back in the early 50s. As the Jody Mars, we went on to record 12 sides for Capitol Records. Never had a hit record here in America, but our record sold well all over Australia and England. They liked our record so much in England, they named a rock and roll magazine after us. One of our songs was called Well Now Dig This. They named a magazine called Well Now Dig This. And they used the beginning of our old record with me saying, "Well, now dig this." That was at the beginning of the recording. They took that little clip and put it on their telephone answering machine. So when the magazine was closed, nobody there to answer the phone. I had answered the phone with, "Well, now dig this." I called up there one time and I answered the phone. That's how I know it. It was funny. But we went on and we broke up about 3 years after we started the Jody Mars for the lack of work, not having an income. So we all had to do something else. And in 1960, I was in Hollywood, California, and an agent that I was using said, "Hey, Marshall," he says, you've about worn out that name. Why don't we try you with another name so we can get you some work? He said, "How about Tommy Page? What do you think of that name?" I said, "That's a good name." Heck yeah. He says, "Well, call your band Tommy Page and the Page Boys." And I said, "That's good too." Okay. So he booked us out in the Nevada gambling casino circuit as Tommy Page and the Page Boys. So I did pretty well and hired a girl singer that eventually became my wife, and we played the circuit for a while until 1967, and she wanted to raise a family, and we had our first child. So I got out of show business, and I went into real estate, and I changed my name legally from Marshall Lytle to Tommy Page. So that's who I am legally, but being back in show business, I started back 20 years ago using Marshall Lytle again, because that's who I was when I was Bill Haley in the Comets. and that's the name that my fans all remember me by. So that's kind of how my life has gone. And 10 years ago, after a divorce, I met the most wonderful person in my life, and I've been with her. Her name is Kathy Smith, and she's my rock, and I'm her roll. And we've been together for 10 years, and we go everywhere together. And we have a beautiful home down here in Florida, and we have another home up in Branson, Missouri, that I'm in the process of selling, because I bought the home when we first went up there and worked at Dick Clark's American Bandstand Theater. And, of course, I just decided that Florida was a much better place to live and retire than Branson, Missouri. So I know I'm going to take a bath on the home values, but my home is for sale. Anybody wants to have a nice home on the golf course in Branson, Missouri,